Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome. This is episode 85 of a Virtual Coffee with Francois, and it's great to have you back and to share some interesting thoughts with you this afternoon. This afternoon, I want to talk about why it is so important to really know yourself, if you want to go above and beyond and really exceed what it is that you are trying to achieve. Let's see. Let me just see. I see we've got a problem with LinkedIn this afternoon. So let's see if we can get that back on. It doesn't seem like it. All right, so I'm not going to bother on that. So if LinkedIn is off, I'm very sorry for that. But let's see how it goes with the rest of this afternoon. It feels quite weird not to have a guest on this afternoon. And it's been such a long time since I've just been here sharing my ideas and my thoughts with you. And so really privileged to end the week like this. We've spent an entire morning taking photos and doing photo shoots and all sorts of stuff, which was quite an interesting experience. A fantastic photographer that we had. She's really, really amazing. And so it's been a morning of that. I'm all posed out, So we'll see. There's still lots of photo shoots to come and things that we want to do. But be that as it may, we one step closer to where we're going. So good afternoon, everybody. Let me quickly say hi before I get into the show. So load shedding is back with us, as you know. So stage 2 has kicked in. And here in my little hometown of Krugersdorp at 4 o'clock, the power is going to go off. So we better finish before then. But anyway, so let's do this. So Kobus, good afternoon. Nice to have you back. Almin, also I can spend a bit more time welcoming everybody when it's just me speaking. We've got Malcolm, Ross, good afternoon. From the Cape of Storms in Stellies, red wine is the only way to survive. I laughed. Was it Neil Phillips that sent me a message this morning on WhatsApp? He said he thinks after this week, this is going to be virtual beer with Francois. So Neil, I hope if you're here, because you usually go on to LinkedIn, but if you are here, then I hope that you've got that beer going. Razan, good afternoon. Carol, Renata, you saw too much of me and still you're here today, this afternoon. So good stuff. We were all doing a photo shoot together this morning. Mark, good morning. Welcome back. And Denise, nice seeing you. Stephen as well. Bronwyn, really nice to see you here. Thank you very much. Bertie Leroux, how can someone contact me? You can go to my website, francois.co.za, or my email address, info@francois.co.za. So that's info@francois.co.za. Or you can just connect with me on LinkedIn. I think that's maybe the easiest, and send me a message from there. All right, so good stuff. As I said, unfortunately, it seems like my friends on LinkedIn is off, so sorry for that. Anyway, let me not get on to just get stuck there. I've got a few announcements obviously to make, as we usually do, and it's some great news. So the first thing that I want to announce is Tuesday's guest is none other than Mr. David Kopp from the Financial Planning Institute. He's the Executive Director of Relevance at the FBI, and we're going to do our first regulatory update. So they've graciously agreed to be our go-to people and our go-to professional body for regulatory updates on the show. And we'll do this on a quarterly basis, sometimes maybe more often if there is a need for that. But for all the regulatory stuff, David and Lelani will be my go-to persons for this, and really happy to have them here. So on Tuesday morning, we're going to have this discussion around just a general update on RDR. We're also going to talk about the new General Code of Conduct and fit and proper requirements and all the changes that's been proposed. I know David did an update on that on Monday, if I remember correctly. And so we're going to talk about that. And then very importantly, something that impacts every single financial advisor in this country directly is the whole advisor categorization proposals that's out, to talk about that, the impact and the opportunities and the risks and things that we need to know about, as we head into all of this. So really excited to have David on the show on Tuesday, sorry. It's been a long week. On Tuesday at 8 a.m. South African time. So we'll be back then. Then also just we're in the process of redesigning my website. So that's a whole sort of journey and things that we'll be going through. So it's going it's quite a bit. Most of the design has actually been done, but we're also doing a rebrand. So we are splitting Francois de Toy, the person, from the business. So we're busy with the whole rebranding exercise, working with some excellent people helping us to actually accomplish that. And so just before we launched the website, we decided to go that route as well. So obviously, as soon as that is done, then we will launch the new website and the new brand and all of that, so that there's clarity about who is Francois de Toy as the person, as the individual, and then obviously the business that we run and the things that we do in that business. And also to sort of, a lot of people have told me that they're a bit confused about everything that we do and when do you pay and when is it for free? Because all of these things are like intertwined and just mashed up. So we're trying to get all of that sorted and fixed. So I just wanted to give a heads up on that. Then something else that I'm looking to do, and I'll be keen to hear your feedback. So we're looking at getting some merchandise for the show. So for Virtual Coffee with Francois, so that may be in the form of very special, very like awesome mugs that you can, but like classy stuff, very nice. Those are the ideas in my head. That you could purchase to support the show and obviously help us grow and go forward. And also it may be so good, I hope, that you'll be willing to purchase some of those and give it to your clients and that kind of stuff. But more about that, I would just like to sort of get your feedback on, is that something that you would be interested in purchasing from us to support the show kind of thing. And then we're also looking at some other merchandise that we may bring in from that point of view, but it will be something that's really nice and something that you can use on a daily basis, and it's not going to have my logo in your face and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but those are the thoughts. So let me know what you think and whether you think it's a good idea, or if you have any other alternative ideas, what would be cool, then let me know. That would actually be good. And obviously that'll be up to you whether you want to do something like that or not. Alrighty, so let me get into this afternoon. I'm really excited to talk about this because this is very, very personal to me. I've been on a journey, particularly since 2015, although there's loads that happened in my life since, actually since forever. But particularly there were some significant events in my life in 2008, 2009, then again in 2013, and then particularly 2014, 2015. And I went on this journey and I thought, I've written this down on the list of things that I want to talk about, and I just never felt like this is the right time. And then when I was looking this week at what am I going to talk about today, I thought like maybe this is a good idea. We've spoken about so many things. We've really touched on a lot of personal development stuff. We've touched on a lot of business stuff. We've touched on a lot of marketing. We've touched on a lot of technology, and where I shared some ideas and we've had guests on. So yeah, I just thought like, maybe this is the time to sort of look at, why is it important for you to really get to know yourself, and why is that actually the first step? And sort of some of the things that's been going on in my life and in my mind about this, particularly, and I think why I'm so focused on this at the moment is because, I'm just thinking back. So my youngest daughter just finished matric last year. She's busy figuring out sort of what she wants to do and exactly where she wants to go and all the good stuff. And there were plans, and then COVID came and lockdown came and all of that got put on hold. But it just made me go through my life and think about, what has my life been like, and what are the things that I maybe, often people say, if you ask them, what would you have done differently? Yeah, nix. I would have just kept it the same, because they're too afraid to say that, I maybe would have done this and this differently. Because they don't want to offend, their family, or they don't want to offend or make other people think that they're ungrateful or anything like that. And I don't believe that is actually what it's about at all. For me, it is like, what would I tell my 20-year-old self or my 19-year-old self today? I still knew I would have done my own thing. I still know that I wanted to have my own business. That's something that I've known forever. But the sort of process that I went through to get where I am today, I think I could have done a number of things differently, but there are two things in particular that I could have done differently. And I only want to talk about the one thing today, and that is getting to know yourself, really, really well. But let's start off with why. I mean, why do I believe it's important to really know yourself? And there's a couple of stories that I can tell you around that. For me, I think this whole journey sort of started off, I made certain decisions, and I did certain things that wasn't so good. And then, sort of life then took quite a different direction from where it was at that point in time. And I think if I look back at this now today, I don't think I think I did it because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know, there was a whole host of things, and I'll get to that. But there was a whole host of things playing around in my mind, and things I was thinking while I was talking to people, and sort of things that I was wondering, while I'm in a conversation, I'm wondering, what is the other person hearing? What is the other person experiencing? What are they thinking of me? So I wasn't even present in those things. And I think those kind of things are a very clear indication that you don't really know yourself and you're not confident in who you are. And I'm going to talk about, so why is this very important? We're going to talk about what does this unlock for you and a whole host of other things in the minutes to come. But this all started way back, I think. Sometimes we need to become aware of something. We don't necessarily immediately act on it, but we do become aware of it. And the time I became aware that I don't know who I am or what is important to me or what I like or what I don't like, was when Big Brother came around. So when was this? In 2000, right? I think it was 2000, 2001. Big Bad Brad, and those were Ferdi, and those were the first housemates we had in South Africa. But as part of this, they had these daily diary room sessions, and then they would sit there. Some people would talk a lot of nonsense, and then there was quite a number of people, like you see, they are deeply connected with who they are, and they know exactly what they like and what they don't like, and what they stand for and what they don't stand for. And this sort of made me I thought to myself, and I was still living in the Free State back then, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is where do you get time to think about these things? We just want to play cricket and braai and, do that kind of stuff. And that was the first time I became aware of the fact that I didn't know myself. But I mean, that was a long time ago. I was young. I think, about 24 at the time. And so it's that is sort of where it started. But before I get through to what led up to me really getting into knowing myself and the steps I took and what it's meant for me so far and what I'm experiencing and some of the ideas and resources that I can share with you is let me just quickly talk about why I believe this is important. And I often joke about this too, if you're on a Kulula flight or any flight for that matter, they always tell you that you put your own mask on first before you help someone else. And that's something that's really stuck with me. I think it's true in life, it's true in business, it's true in anything. Often we help others, but we ourselves, the individual, is actually in shambles. So by helping someone else, it makes us feel better for a little bit. But once we start doing that, it's just taking more from us. Instead of, yes, there's satisfaction in helping someone else. Yes, you feel like you made an impact, but it still doesn't fill the void that you might have inside of you. It still doesn't change what you think about yourself. It doesn't change the confidence that you have or anything to that effect. It really just is a matter of, we sort of do something, I think, to take our minds off our own stuff. And sometimes, particularly men, let me call you out men, we don't go this emotional route and we don't get involved in matters of what's going on inside. It's just not a manly thing to do, right? And I think that is where we make the biggest mistake. But why is this important? I keep digressing. So the first thing for me is why this is important and why you should really get to know yourself and why this is going to make a significant difference is because it influences absolutely everything in your life. Absolutely, absolutely everything. And just think about this. So if you're not 100% clear on who you are as a person, you're going to default to living a life that you believe that others expect you to live, or that others want you to live, or a life that's going to fit into the circles and the networks and the society and whatever that you operate within or within which you live. You're going to default to that, and you're going to be somebody that you're just not, and you're going to find that you get tired all the time. You get frustrated all the time, and you can also do it only so long until you snap, because we can only pretend to be something we're not. We will always go back to our natural default of who we really are, even if we don't know exactly who that person is. So you have that on the one hand, where you live a life that others, or that we believe others expect us to believe, versus being your true self. Just accept who you are, and it sounds like an easy thing to do, but there's a whole process to go through before one gets to that point where you go, okay, so this is who I am. This is what's okay, and this is what's not okay. So that is what's going to happen. If you don't know yourself and you don't work on yourself all the time, you will default to being something or somebody that you're not, and you're going to try to satisfy other people's needs and other people's expectations all the time, and that's not good for you. And then obviously, because if that is the case, so if you're not being your true self and you are trying to be something that you think is acceptable in your circles, or as I said before, then it's going to influence your decision making. So you're going to be able to make decisions, and you'll be able to justify your decisions, and you'll be able to say, well, this is why I chose it, and you'll be happy with the outcome, but it's taking you further and further down this path that you maybe are not supposed to go. It's the path that takes a lot more from you than it gives to you. So that is important. So it's definitely going to influence your decision making. And then also, if you know yourself really, really well, then you'll be able to define exactly what happiness means for you. And I know so many people that obviously put themselves last all the time. They will always put their family first. They will always put their children first. They will always put their business first. They will always put these things. And I'm guilty of a lot of these things. And I say guilty because, at the end of the day, you think if you do all those things, it'll make you happy. But it doesn't, because happiness comes from inside. It doesn't come from what we do. What we do should actually amplify our happiness, but it shouldn't create our happiness, because the moment you lose what it is you're doing, and that's something that gave you meaning, then you have nothing left to, what then? What's going to happen next? And then, as I said before, like if I can allude back to the mask thing, is that you can't be good for others, if you're not good to yourself. If you can only really help others and be there for others and have an impact on others when you're in a good place and when you really, really know yourself. And it's not always, we all go through our things. It's not a case of like, I need to be on top of it and be the happy, chappy, up and down, jumping, heel clicking kind of guy. That's not what it's about. It is just, having that confidence, knowing exactly where you're going, why you're doing something, and you're not doing something because you think that is the right thing or because you think that is what others expect of you. All right, so that's sort of the why in my mind, and why I've been thinking about this a lot. And obviously, I'll get to the resources at the end, and I'll tell you sort of some of the things that I use, and some of the things that I've come to realize with this as well. But what does this really unlock for you? Because this isn't about me. I can tell you my story. I can share my story with you. But at the end of the day, this is something that needs to have an impact on you. And there's certain things that you need to decide to do. And you've got to be ready to do this as well. You're not just going to sometimes things happen in your life and it forces you to start looking inwards and to really get to know yourself very, very well. Other people will put it off until their dying breath. And that's, a decision that we all have to sort of make. But what does this unlock for you? And for me, the first thing that it unlocks is confidence. Because no longer do you doubt yourself. No longer do you care about what others think of you. No longer does it really matter whether somebody thinks you're doing great work or not. And I can tell you that I struggle with this quite a lot. Because, you do work for people and they say thank you and nothing else. You never ever hear anything again, So you're almost always looking for that feedback. You're almost always looking for that, not the recognition part, but the confirmation part that, listen, this was great. And you don't just want like, thank you, that was a great session, or, that's such an impact. It's almost like we want to hear it more and more and more again. And I think it's because of a lack of confidence, because I don't know myself well enough and I don't believe enough in what it is that I do that I can go out there and say, look, this was a great job, whether you tell me it was or it wasn't. I need to be confident. And I also need to be confident that if you were not happy, then you would have said something and you would have told me. And the fact that you didn't say anything means that you're happy and that it did have an impact. But all of this kind of stuff, the more you get to know yourself, the more you get to believe in yourself, the more that would mean to you. So confidence is the first thing that this will unlock. The second thing is contentment. It's just like, I don't know, there's some form of peace that comes over you when you have contentment, when you're just happy. Now, there's a big difference between being content and being in your comfort zone. Those are not the same thing, okay? When you are content, it means that you are happy. But it doesn't mean like, okay, now I've done enough. I don't strive to grow. I don't strive to be better. I don't strive to make more money. I don't strive to grow my business. I don't strive to be a better husband or a better father or any of that. Doesn't mean, that's not what contentment means. It doesn't mean that now I sit back and I'm just cozy and I'm just cruising along. It's not that. It just means that you've got this inner peace and inner happiness that is true. It's almost like you don't know where it comes from. It's just like, it's there. It's amazing. So that is the thing. The third thing that comes is clarity. You know why you're doing things. You know where you're going. You know when you say no to stuff. You know exactly who you want to mingle with and mix with and network with and build relationships with, because it's very easy to see when somebody doesn't fit into it is who you are. And Seth Godin is the one that says, like if you like in his book, This Is Marketing, he's talking about the fact that, this is people like us do things like this, is what he says in the book. It's people like us, so you will attract the same kind of people. And it's funny because I've spoken about this before. And if you're looking at your ideal client, the ones that you get along with the most and the best and the easiest, and you just love working with them, you wish you had more of them. If you really go look at it, you will find out that it's people like you. There's a lot of common ground. There's a lot of things that you're both interested in. The way you view life is the same, more or less. What is important to you is more or less the same. And that's why, so definitely clarity. And obviously if you have clarity, it'll give you direction. So you'll know exactly like where you're headed. Otherwise, there's a whole host of things coming at us all the time, and that's distracting us and getting us into doing things and, focusing on things that maybe we wouldn't want to focus on. So that's the direction. And then, you sort of also get to know what is really important to you. And the fact of the matter is, and I'll talk about values a little bit later, but when we talk about values, those values do change over time because it depends on where you find yourself in your life. When I heard about values for the first time, I was confusing that with morals. So what is right and what is wrong? Okay, what is ethical and what is unethical? And it's not. Values is only about like, what do you value? What is important to you, in other words? So when you're young and single, maybe you value partying, or you may value learning, or you may, value having the best car with the most LEDs underneath it and the biggest hi-fi inside, whatever that may be. Then you get married, then things change. Then you get kids, then that changes, what is important to you. When the kids start leaving your house, other things start becoming important to you. Things that were like on the back burner often that you say, oh, that's not important. It becomes more important later in life. So, and that's also already a clear indication that you have to revisit these things all the time, because things change. This isn't a once-off exercise getting to know yourself and now you know. When I grew up, I loved red because I was in the red team when it came to athletics. And so Roy was my span. And, but over time I've come to love green, and now I love blue quite a lot. So things change. It's not to say that I value blue over red, but what we like and what's important to us do change over time. So we have to revisit that all the time. And then it does also unlock time for us. A lot of time we say, well, time management is such an issue. It's so difficult. I don't have enough time. And this is I think the biggest thing that I struggle with. And it's not because I don't know myself yet. There's still some things that I need to figure out, but it's also that I'm still saying yes to too many things. So there's two sides to this. But if you do know yourself and you do know, like, look, that is not for me, and you're able to say no to that, you're saving yourself a hell of a lot of time and energy. So definitely time is another thing that this unlocks for us. All right, so let me quickly see anything. Oh, Kirsty Hansen from Perth. Good afternoon. Arun Bronwyn says, so true. So good stuff. Guys, you're welcome. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We're growing a bit slower than we used to in the beginning, but we're also going live twice a week now and not every single day. But we're on 518 subscribers and slowly but surely growing. So please, we're trying to get that first 1,000 subscribers. So if you could, if this is some content that interests you, then please consider subscribing. And please remember to interact in the chat and to, ask questions. I'll get to them as we go through. Alrighty, so the next thing is then, if you decide to go on this journey, the first step would be like make the decision. Make the decision that, listen, maybe I should spend some time on myself. It can be just on yourself. It can be with yourself, by yourself, on your own. Some people would need to go away for a weekend or a week just away from everybody just to go and start this journey. Otherwise you can just decide, listen, every morning I'm going to spend 10 or 15 or 30 minutes and just start to get to know myself. And I'm going to give you some excellent resources that got me going. And I'll also tell you the story at that point of exactly how I got to do this eventually at the age of, 36, 37, 40. What was it? Well, I'm 44 now, so that was about at 39, 40. So yeah, it's never too late. It's never too early. This is the thing that I said, like I would want my children to, if they don't know what they want to go and study or what job they want, that's cool. Then first go figure out who you are. And there's many different ways to do that. So, what would I say should you expect when you go on this journey? Because, it is exciting, but trust me, there's also, if you do this right and you do this well, then you're going to face some things that you know that you should have faced before. And I'm telling you now, it's not like you need a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a coach or anybody like that to get started. You will, in this journey, realize like, oh, I need more help on this. And whether it's more accountability or it's helping me practice the things that I'm learning, or it is helping me clarify that you know that you need to get a coach and go in that route. Or the others may be like, oh, I've got deep-seated stuff that I just can't get over, and I need to go see somebody who specializes that can help me with that. And also to have this mindset and this absolute attitude. And I can tell you today that I spent like 10 sessions with somebody like that. It opens your world. It just takes all the weight off your shoulders. There are things that we cannot figure out on our own. There are things that we cannot, the kind of stories that we tell ourselves are just, we always will defend our view. We will always look at the things that sort of reinforces what it is that we believe. Whereas if somebody else sits there or they've seen and heard it all, they will just look at you and go like, but Francois, is that really listening here? How can you think about this differently? And they can start saying, but Francois, remember this and this, you told me about this. And now you're saying this, these two things are not talking to one another. And they sort of get you over that hurdle and through that challenge. And for some people, it's a small thing. For other people, it is a massive, massive thing. To do that. But going to see somebody professional that can help you as well is the best gift that you can give yourself. I'm telling you today, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something that is bad. Specifically, if you're a man, I'm going to tell you again, don't avoid these things. They are quite important because no amount of success, no amount of money, no amount of, it doesn't matter how good your relationship is. There's always that thing that's going to eat away if you don't go look at it. But anyway, what to expect? Like if you start going through this journey, the first thing is expect frustration. So expect that you're going to be frustrated. Expect it. And the reason why you'll get frustrated is that you'll go on this journey and it's all these wonderful tools and all these wonderful things that you can do, and you read a lot of stuff and you watch some videos and you listen to podcasts and all these things start, I never thought about it this way. It's so awesome. And then you just want all these quick results, but often these things take a very long time to take effect. There are always some quick wins. Absolutely. There's sometimes some small changes that you can make and it makes a massive difference in your life. But then, it's really a long-term game. This is almost like, if you go on a diet or a certain lifestyle, I didn't say diet, but a certain lifestyle, it's for the rest of your life. So getting to know yourself is a journey, because as you grow older and as you have experiences and relationships and all that kind of stuff, you will learn about yourself, and things that you thought you knew, you'll learn that maybe you don't know it that well. So even I know I've still got a long way to go as far as that is concerned. But that is where the frustration can sometimes come in, where you think you read about something or you watch something or you have a conversation with somebody, and then you expect things just to be fixed like that. And it doesn't work that way. You've got to work on it and be patient. So it is not a quick fix. It's not a one book you read and there your life changes. This is something that you need to work on continuously. Then I don't even know if this is a word, right? In a Free State, this would have been a word if I was still there, I'm pretty sure, but uncomfortableness. So, you're going to definitely be uncomfortable. And the reason why you're going to get uncomfortable is because you're going to go places where you've never been before. You're going to go delve into those things that's sitting like a huge monkey on your shoulder. You're going to have to confront certain things to be able to say, well, Why do I believe this about people? Or why do I believe this about the world? Or why do I believe this about my country? Or why do I believe all these things? You're going to have to go challenge your beliefs, and that is extremely uncomfortable. And if you're not getting uncomfortable, then you're not doing it right, or you're not doing it at the level that you should be doing it at. You got to go look at different angles. You got to go look at different conversations or different points of view, and even research and things that challenges the things that you've believed for so long. Because the problem is, as soon as we believe something, we're going to say, well, that's how it is. And every single thing that you can see around you, every single thing that you read or listen to or see, that reinforces that belief. You're going to say, sien, ek is reg, I'm right. That is exactly what it is. And that is where we make the mistake. You've got to be open to many of these things. And it is, we all have those hard lines where, I will look at these beliefs, but these ones, they're ingrained. They are part of who I am. I'm not going to change it. And that's okay. That is everybody's choice. But a large part of the things that we believe, we can challenge. And a large part of the beliefs we'll just change. And the only way to change it is with new information. And that new information makes you uncomfortable. So expect it to become uncomfortable in this process. It means that you're growing. It means that you're learning. It means that you're expanding. It means that you're changing. And it will be for the better. I can promise you that. And then also confusion. Confusion is definitely going to seep in. There's a hell of a lot to make sense of. There's a lot of dots to connect. There's a lot of things that needs to happen in this process. But that's why it's a journey, and it's a fun journey. And you can go at it alone, or you can have somebody that goes with you on that journey. It's great if you and your spouse can be on this journey together, or you and your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. That's up to you, but that makes it so much better, because in that your relationship grows as well. And one also gets to understand one another a lot better. And I also believe that if we don't understand ourselves very well, it's going to be very hard to understand somebody else from their point of view. But then it's not only the bad stuff, because what was it now? It was frustration and uncomfortableness, if that is a word, and confusion. But then there's also the great stuff that happens. And the first thing is enlightenment. There are so many lights that go on. There are so many dots that connect there. And every time I have a conversation with somebody, I go like, I've had a few of them in the last couple of weeks, where you talk about something, and you've spoken about some of these things before, but now a lot of time has elapsed, and now you talk about it again, and suddenly two things click, and suddenly you go like, that's it. This is what I do. This is actually what matters. This is why I love this so much, because sometimes you love something, but you don't really know why you love it so much. But that is important. Then growth, you can expect growth personally, in your relationships specifically, and then also in your business, obviously, you can expect growth. And I fully believe that you can't grow your business to its full potential. Even if you're doing extremely well there where you're sitting, you can have a great business with great income and great people working for you and all of that. I'm telling you today, it is still not what it could be if you're not the best that you could be. There will always be that limit from that, because hard work takes you there. But if things really start to click, your personal life, that's like a next gear that will gear up your business as well. So that's important. And then also, I think Michelle Hoskins spoke about this the other day, where we spoke about purpose versus passion and that. And she said something that reminded me. Again, it is something that I've also sort of experienced in my journey, but it was the fact that you don't just have one purpose. You have many purposes. You can want to be a great parent. You can want to be a great community member. You can want to be a awesome financial planner. You can have multiples of those, and you can really excel in each one of those, or with each of those purposes. Even you can have a passion for all of that. But if you really get to know yourself, you're going to figure out what are the things that gives you meaning, because purpose for me is about meaning. If you get meaning from something, whether it's your hobby or a sport or your work or your relationships, whatever, that is what's going to happen. You're going to get this purpose, and everything will just start to make sense from there. All right. So, but where do we really start with this? Because that is sort of important. And for me, the first point is who you are. And with that, what I mean is, and this is just scratching the surface, right? So getting to know who you are, and assessment is not going. And I mean, this is a clear indication. Like, we love doing these assessments, like, what color represents you, or if you could be a car, which car would you be? All that kind of stuff. We like those assessments because we are trying to figure out who we are, and we like something that will give us some form of an indication. But the first thing here for me is like who you are. In other words, your personality. That is the kind of stuff that we need to start figuring out. And that was the first step that I took. And I've done this. When I worked at Liberty, I started at Liberty in 1998. We did something called social styles. So you do a test, and this thing says to you whether you are a driver or an expressive or amiable or analytical. So there's many different tests like that. You've got Myers-Briggs. There's Enneagram, I think, like with these levels. And so there's all these different tests that one could do. But that gives you some form of an idea. And there's a free resource that I'm going to give you at the end to sort of tell you where can you go and start with this. The tool that I used, apart from the social style stuff, which I knew from back in the day, is the DISC. So DISC, the DISC stands for the different personality types. It's a great test to do. It's easy to understand. It is for free, the tool that I'm going to give you. And it just makes you realize, like, are you somebody that gives energy or that gets energy? Or do you get energy from being alone and quiet? Or do you get energy from being with others and talking to others? And then also what I loved about DISC is that it showed my natural style. In other words, my true style, my true personality. And then my adaptive style, where my adaptive style was who I had to be at work. And often that is sort of brought about by the role that you fulfill at work, or who you're with at that particular point in time. So we have to adapt. If you don't adapt, it's going to be very, very hard. But the one main thing, if you learn about DISC, is that you always default back to your natural style. So knowing what that is, the more time you can spend in your natural style, the more you're going to get done, the better you're going to feel, the more energy you're going to have. So those things are extremely important from that point of view. And that is what I mean with who you are. So what is your personality? And then, once you know that, and even if you just take that and share that with your spouse or your partner, be it your business partner or your life partner, whatever it may be, that's going to now I understand. Often you'll get home, you had a long day, you're so tired. All you want is just half an hour of quiet so you can recover because you're an introvert. And then you get home and your husband wants to know, but like, what happened today? And because they're an extrovert. So they've been alone all day probably. And then they're hungry for conversation. And now the wife is just too tired to talk to them. And it's like, and then he gets, you don't care, you're not interested. And it's never that. But once the husband understands that the wife just needs half an hour just to go and recover, just give her a glass of wine and just leave her alone for half an hour, she'll come and chat and talk and do all the things that you want to do. And obviously the other way around. So by knowing your style and then ultimately knowing your spouses and your business partner, the people in your team, whatever that may be, if you can get to know their styles, it opens up a whole new world. And there's many things. Myers-Briggs does that. Enneagram, there's all these different tools to really get to understand one another. But in essence, they all do the same thing, albeit in a little bit of a different way. And maybe it might highlight something that the other one doesn't highlight, but it doesn't really matter. All right. And often, maybe in your work, maybe you were part of doing these tests, and then you had this workshop, and then nothing after that. So you never went back, studied, made sure that you understood yourself, and then get to learn the other styles and how to actually just identify them when you talk to somebody else. They're so easy to identify, once you get comfortable with it. And that helps a lot. So the first step is to get to know who you are. So if there's the first thing that you want to do, I would suggest that you go and do that. The second thing would be, for me, in my terminology, is what do you have? So these for me are your natural gifts and talents that you received. So they were given to you, you've got them. It's some people are just naturally gifted or talented in a certain area. Other people have that talent, but they have to develop it a little bit. But it is really to know, what are you really just naturally good at? What comes with less effort and you're more interested in that and all that kind of stuff. versus the things that is really a drag on you. And I'm going to give you a very simple example of this, and this is sort of where the Clifton Strengths Finder comes in. That was the second thing that I did. So the first thing was disc at the end of 2014. The start of 2015, I did the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It's still called Gallup Strengths Finder or something like that. So I did that, and again, got the report, did nothing with it for quite a few years until I started working on that last year. But it is there. It tells you like what you are. And I'm going to give you a very good example. There's something that everybody tells you that you should have, and that is self-discipline. If you don't have self-discipline, you are doomed. Well, then I'm doomed, let me tell you, because out of my 34 talents, I think it's second last. It's number 33 or number 32 on that list. I can't remember because I don't really care. The one thing that I learned through this is that I am not naturally disciplined. Yes, I am not, because I wouldn't look like this if I was disciplined, because I would go and exercise every day. I would be very disciplined with what I eat and what I didn't eat, but I'm not, okay? So, but it doesn't mean that I can't be successful because I don't have natural self-discipline. I'm the guy that would have eaten the marshmallows, and in fact, the whole packet of marshmallows. I definitely wouldn't have waited until the end of that, of that exercise. I would have never would have made it. But anyway, but what I do have, my top strengths is I'm futuristic and ideation, responsibility. So if I look at those strategies, one of my top 5. So if I can use those strengths to have a plan and to, by design, make sure that I keep to the things that I do, I don't need discipline. I just need a plan. And I have the natural strengths to do those things. So once that light goes on and you really understand that, then things really start to happen. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as doing the test and just looking at it and saying, well, I need to go and do this. And you can only get so far in that. And then it comes to the point, it's like golf. If you ever started to play golf, and if you swing that golf club, you can watch all the golf videos in the world and read all the books and how your hand should be, and how do you swing back and how do you swing through. Unless there's somebody standing there seeing what you're doing from another point of view, and they know how it should be, and they can start to make you aware of the things that you are not doing yet, aware of what you could do different, the little adjustments that you need to make to get huge results. Changing your hands that little bit can make the difference between a straight shot every single time and something that fades all the time. So in other words, slices away from a golf perspective. But that's why, you can get started with this and say, well, what am I naturally gifted at? And these things don't change usually. They may change like a little bit, like what is number 1 may go to 2 or 3, but those top 5, top 10 usually stay the same. It's not like your values that will change all the time. And as you grow older or as you go different phases in your life, your talents are your talents. And you can rather spend time on developing your talents than trying to get disciplined, because I will never get disciplined apparently. So I'm not going to waste my time and my effort on it. And often when we talk about personal development plans, people want to say, these are your weaknesses, we got to work on that. No. How do we make your strengths better? And how do we outsource or delegate the things that you're not naturally good at? From that point of view. So what you have is the second thing. So first thing, who you are. Second thing is what you have. Then you need to figure out what is important to you. So those are the 3 things that I would say, if you want to get started on this journey about really getting to know yourself, start with who you are. In other words, your personality. Do you get energy from others, or do you get energy by being alone? All that kind of stuff, and also understanding your adaptive styles, and also understanding how you react in certain situations, because there's natural situations and then there will be pressure situations, and to understand why you do certain things, but then also to take it a step further and understand the other personality types once you understand yourself and understand how you interact with those and how you can then adapt to work with those people. Because again, the person that can adapt, it's going to win at the end of the day. So the first thing is who you are, your personality. The second thing is what you have, in other words, your talents and your strengths. And then what is important to you, or in other words, your values. What do you value? What is most important to you? And again, it is so important that you are so honest with yourself when it comes to values. Because you can sit there and go like, oh, my children is very important to me, my family, my wife. But it isn't really, and it's okay if it isn't really, because we think that society expects from us to say my family is number 1, but if learning is more important, if your health is more important, and then your wife and your children, It's okay. You got to be honest with yourselves. And this is where it becomes uncomfortable, you know. So what we've done as a family is that we've got, I know my values. My wife knows her values. And then we have sort of values for the family that we say, well, as a family, this is what is important to us. But each individual member of the family should have their own things that are important to them. And we need to know, because if I know that learning is more important to you than anything else, then I can support you in that. You know, when you feel guilty because you want to go to another seminar on the weekend, then your wife will understand, or your husband will understand and actually say, maybe let me go with you. But you must also know then next time you should go and do something with them that's really important to them. But that's where compromise comes in. The more we know one another, the better that will be. And this goes for business partners and team members and friends and family and all of that together. But then once you've done these things, the one thing that I've learned is you've got to revisit. You can't just do it once and then it's done. You've got to go back and back, because every time you become aware of something else, when you become aware of something, you focus on it. When you focus on it, you learn more about it. And then things start to really move in a direction. And I found this where I did some work in 2015 on my own. And then I had a friend that I sort of spoke to quite a lot about things, and that obviously helped. Then I had a business coach, which was not a good experience. Then I was introduced to a strengths finder coach, Johan Oosthuizen. You've all seen Johan on the show. And that's why I'm bringing him on the show, because he's absolutely amazing. He comes from our industry. He understands. He was a very successful advisor on his own. He's a very, I don't know, we just gelled very well. But he focuses on the Clifton stuff, the what you have, and he brings a lot of other things to that as well. So he helped me then quite a bit, to get to understand. I took time to work on it again, and there's things that I realized this is important to me, that is not so important to me. So we did all of that. We went into my business profile, and there's all those things that Johan and I did together. And then there's also, I'm now working again with somebody, Norma Simons, and she's also helping me a lot. And I know Norma from back in the day. We used to work together, and she's gone into this field for the last 4 years, and she's done a lot of work on herself, and then, through that learned a lot. And obviously she found that her purpose is like she wants what she's learning, and she also, it's an ongoing process. Don't think that a coach has everything figured out. They also learn as we go along. But now the conversations that I'm having with her for the last few weeks has been absolutely amazing. And this is why these things are top of mind at the moment, to understand that, now I'm ready for the message. Now the dots connect. They don't always all connect the first time round. And it's often good to have these sort of spaces in between where I work on it, then I don't work on it, then I work on it, then I don't work on it. Because I just think your brain gets time to really understand and really absorb these things. And because you did work on it, it does become part of your life in some way. Some people will say you need to get up at 5 a.m, you need to journal, you need to meditate. Shit, I still don't get time for that. I still don't get to that. Okay, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it, because remember, I don't have discipline. So, yeah, I do a lot of other stuff, but I know I'll get there. I'm going to get there. At some stage, I'm going to start doing these things. But I'm not going to beat myself up. I understand that it is a journey. So that is important from that point of view. So let me share with you some resources so that you will know where to go. On the YouTube video, in the description, I've actually put all the links to this, because the links are sometimes too long to, even if I put it on the screen, it's going to be hard to write them down. And that's why I just put them in the description of this video, so you can just go click on it and go there. There's no affiliates, no nothing. It's just a straightforward link directly there. The first resource I've got is the DISC assessment. So the personality one, that is step one. It's Tony Robbins offers one for free. So if you go to, I think it's tonyrobbins.com/disc, DISC, then it takes you straight there, and you can do the assessment, and there's some other little assessment that you can do with it. And it's for free. It's the full test. It gives you a very nice report that you can understand, so you and your wife, your husband, your children, whatever, if they're old enough, you can do that. Get to know one another in that sense. So the first resource I would say is DISC, the Tony Robbins one. There are many other ones. You can just go and search for it. But for me, I've always done the Tony Robbins one, because, well, one, it's free, so that's awesome. But also the report and things that you get are really, really well put together, because those, sometimes you do the test, but you don't always get the same kind of report. So for me, understanding what they're saying to me, that is quite important. Then the second one is Gallup. So if you go to gallup.com, but you can see the link in the description, because that's quite a monster of a thing. If you just go to gallup.com to find it, it's quite a mission. So, but you can just go look for Clifton Strengths Finder. There are 2 versions of it. The first one, you only get your top 5. So it's still the full test. So Gallup knows your full 34 strengths, but they only show you the top 5. That's $20 to do. So it's about 350 Rand. But then you can also then later or now you can unlock that. The full price, if you want to purchase all 34, is $50 or 850 Rand roughly at the moment. So yeah, you can definitely go have a look at that and do that one. So it is absolutely worth the money. And then if you want help with that kind of stuff, get in touch with the Clifton Strengths Finder coach as well, because they really take those things to the next level and they really help you integrate. And also what I loved about what Johan did was, all the things about like the business model canvas and the value proposition canvas, and there was a few other things that we spoke about on the show. He actually shows you how all of these things are connected and where your strengths fit into the business model canvas and into the value proposition canvas, and just how all these things actually work together with your business profile 10 assessment and all of that stuff. So he really has an integrated view and helping you understand where you should focus your energy and what you should be focusing on and what you're naturally gifted at. And then also to obviously develop that. So that makes you on for me. I got so much value from working with him. So that's definitely something that I would advise you. And then if you want to then do your values, and you can decide, you want to do your Clifton Strengths last or do you want to do it second? It doesn't really matter. But for me, if you know yourself a little bit better, if you know what talents and things that you've got, then also looking at your values will make that a lot easier. The one that and there's many of these value exercises. If you go look for value determination or value assessments, you'll find so many resources for that. The one that's worked the best for me, that made the most sense to me, the one that was easiest to follow, and where there was for each and every single part of that thing that I did, there was a video. I should go about it exactly how I should be thinking. And that is the Dr. DeMartini. His value determination is absolutely amazing. He's also written a book on values. I think he's the foremost thought leader on values and the impact that it has on your life. So that's a free assessment. So it's only the Clifton Strengths assessment that's going to cost you money. Both the DISC and the values one is totally for free. So if you want to do those 2 first, then go for it. And then my top 2 researchers from a coaching point of view, I would say, is definitely Johan Oosthuizen, particularly if you want to work on your talents and your strengths, and Norma as well, Norma Simons, if you want to work with in terms of that, or maybe you prefer working with a lady instead of a man, kind of thing. So then you have options. I like to have options. So, but those are some of the resources. We're also going to put, as part of the new website, these resources on there. So that it's easy to find, and the whole host of other resources that we've put together from a tech point of view. So there's a whole host of things that we're going to just have there on the website where you can just, just go to Francois' website and go check out the resources. So I'm looking forward to launching that soon. But I think that is sort of important. Alrighty. So let me just quickly see. Let me go to the comments. Let's see quickly. So Carol says, Carol, I know you're also into coaching and stuff, if I remember correctly. Gen X and baby boomers need to mentor our younger generation. If only those younger generations wants to listen sometimes. Sometimes they want to learn in their own way. They need to find themselves and believe in themselves in this very challenging time where there are many pressures with social media. Yeah, exactly. They have this idea. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday, actually. I had a conversation with someone where we were talking about these younger guys coming in and there's opportunities for them, but the salaries that they demand and the incomes that they demand, it's just crazy. It's more like, and they're not interested in bonuses or incentives or anything like that. Just want my salary. It's like an appearance fee. They've got a completely different mindset. And I think, it's just, I don't know, the way that they brought up, and then social media, definitely. But social media is not the evil thing here. Just to throw that in there. I know that's not what you're saying, but all I'm saying is that social media is not the devil here. It is the fact that we're not encouraging them to get to really know themselves, it's one of the things that I wish I did more with my children, but I started too late with this journey. So again, I got to help myself before I can help my children, because you've got to lead by example. They're going to look at what it is that you're doing. They're not going to listen to what we tell them to do. And it's one of those things. A very valid point there, Carol. Kobus says, Francois, great change to your lighting on set, much brighter, more clearer. It's actually, Kobus, it shouldn't be looking like this. We are going to change the studio. It's part of the revamp and that. So we'll see where we go. It's because I've got a new laptop and the settings and the things is not 100% right yet. But yeah, thanks. It's good to know that you like the brighter stuff more. I look a little bit like Casper the Ghost, but that's fine. Ross says, thank you. Thank you, Kobus Keen. Good stuff. Really got value out of Enneagram studies personally and in business life. Yeah, Enneagram is something that a lot of people are talking about. I've never done it myself, but I know it's also one of the hot things that people are talking about. Don't box yourself, though. I still don't align myself with a dominant number. Okay, obviously I have no clue what you're talking about, Carol. Yes, Caleb. Strength Finder is interesting. Razan, I've done the paid discs before. Very good. Be ready for some harsh realities. Yes. So that's where the frustration and the uncomfortableness comes in. Recently, Clifton Strengths really opened up the file and brought it all together. Yes, that's what often happens with these things. And the more we work on it, the more we get there. Renata says, I can highly recommend Gallup Strengths and DeMartini Values. And there's something else, Renata, that you, I think, work with called the Contribution Compass. So I'm not sure exactly what that compares to. Maybe you can sort of share with us in the chat what the Contribution Compass relates to, or what does it compare to. Because I've been part of a workshop where the guy was here from New Zealand that developed that, and I can't remember his name now. But that also seemed very, very interesting. And I don't know if that's more meant for teams or what that's meant for. But that is sort of the story there. Yeah, good stuff. So remember Tuesday, we've got David Kopp in the house live. So levendig. So bring your coffee and all the other stuff. That's good. And let's have a chat with him and see what all the things is that we need to know about. Even if you listen to his webinar on Monday about the changes to the General Code of Conduct, we're going to talk about a whole host of other stuff. And I also want to say thank you to Carol, because Carol, you're the one that WhatsApped me and said to me, Francois, what about the regulatory update? We want to know about this and this and this, and this is what you're hearing, and this is what people want to know. And because regulation is not my forte, it's not something that I particularly love spending time on, I thought who better to get than the FBI to come and share that with us. I also spoke to somebody today that we're going to get in to speak about Poppy. So we're also going to talk about that and the impact of everything that's been implemented now from the 1st of July. But as soon as that is finalized, I will let you know. Good stuff. So from me, thank you very much. I hope you have a lovely weekend. We're about to go into load shedding, which is not something that I'm very excited about. But I've got some lights and a battery, and I've got lots of wood. So I'm definitely going to have a braai. I wish you all a lovely weekend, and thank you very much for being with me this afternoon. I deeply appreciate it. I'll be back on Monday, and stay safe. Look after yourself. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.